What's up, Elliot? Good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on. How you guys doing?
Yeah, of course. We're doing well.
Appreciate it.
So before we talk about the game in particular, I see that you retweeted your station's account that Jason Kelce is in studio this morning, or was between 7:30 and 8:30. I'm I'm stunned at his level of fame at this point. And I understand he's got a famous brother who's now dating Taylor Swift. That's raised his profile immensely, but talk about how big of a superstar Jason Kelce has become in such a short period of time. I'm still a little bit surprised by it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the Taylor Swift thing probably helped it, but I'm in a rare situation where I've seen Kelce since he was a rookie here in Philadelphia. I remember him in Lehigh when he was coming as a sixth-round pick out of Cincinnati. So watching him rise to this level of fame certainly is surprising, but it's for a reason. I mean, Jason is an awesome guy. I think he's really good at what he does. He has an ability to relate to people, which I think does make him more popular. I'm sure he needs a few extra security guards when he goes out now, but yeah, he's become really famous, and it's always interesting to hear what he has to say about the Eagles now that he's retired and can maybe be a little more honest in his assessment.
So you guys are off to a good start, back in first place, take on Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, and I saw you think this is a must-win game for the Eagles and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I just don't think Jalen can lose to Jaden Daniels in this spot. It's nothing against Jaden Daniels. I think he has a very bright future. I think losing Cliff Kingsbury is probably going to really hurt next year, but I still think he has a ton of potential. But this is not a game that Jalen can be the worst quarterback on the field. Jalen's in his fifth year. He has the franchise level contract. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's almost won MVP. It's a big game tonight, and it's at home in a primetime spot. So I don't think that means he has to throw the ball 40 times. He doesn't have to, get 400 yards or whatever. He just can't be the one to make the mistake. When the game ends, he has to leave with the win, and he has to leave with it being clear that he's the better quarterback of the two.
Yeah, and Elliot, your point about him not having to throw the ball 40 times, that makes sense with what the Eagles are doing so far this season. They haven't had to throw the ball a lot. They throw it the least in the league because why would you when you can just hand it off to Saquon Barkley? And Jalen looks like he's healthy as opposed to last year when he was clearly going through an injury, at least through the second half of the season, where he didn't look like his normal self when he would tuck the ball and run. So they don't really need to throw the ball a ton to be effective.
Yeah, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like maybe both teams handle their quarterback in a somewhat similar situation. I think Washington is 27th in attempts per game, so neither team are, slinging it up and down the field all game. I think both coaching staffs do a good job of putting their quarterbacks in a good situation. The Eagles, kind of plan on offense since the bye week, and they've gone on this 5-game winning streak, is really run the ball, get into third and manageable situations, take shots down the field with the two elite receivers that they have, and let Jalen make plays with his legs on third down if there's nothing there in the passing game. So it's been an effective strategy for him. I will say, I do think they can still pass the ball at a high level if they need to. When you have A.J. Brown, when you have Devontae, when you have Goddard, and Jalen does throw a really nice deep ball, like they're very capable of making big plays down the field. So I think that while they are a run-first team, sometimes that comes with the stigma of, well, it's because they can't throw the ball. They can throw the ball. I just think the more effective strategy for them has been to make sure Saquon gets it a bunch.
So what's really going on, by the way, with Jalen and Coach Sirianni, et cetera? Was all that blown out of proportion? Were they really sort of not seeing eye to eye, not talk? Like, what was the story and where are they at right now?
Yeah, I think anytime you have one of the biggest collapses in franchise history, it's going to impact relationships a little bit. I think the end of last year was tough on everybody in that building. I don't think they had a good locker room, and they've had to rebound from that. So definitely, I think that, the firing of Brian Johnson, who I know you guys have there, probably was not a super popular move, in Jalen's eyes. They're very close. He wanted him as his offensive coordinator. But the sense I get being around the team this year and not taking into account last year, they seem to be in a really good place now. I think the bye week was really good for them. I know they talked a lot during the bye week. It seems like they got on the same page and they're winning. And, this is true of all sports, but ultimately, like when the team's winning, everyone's getting along. When they don't lose, everyone hates each other. So I think it was a little bit of that with how last year ended. But now that they've gotten back to playing good football, they're working together. I see him in the facility. It seems like they're in a good place.
Talking to Eliot Shorr-Parks, covers the Eagles for WIP in Philly. and you did a positional breakdown, but you included coach. So sticking with coach, like talent-wise, you have the Eagles in every position better than the Commanders. Okay, that's fine. I was surprised, though, that you have coach ahead. Is that just simply based on record? Because Quinn is right now being very well received here and I think nationally.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's doing an awesome job for sure. But Nick Sirianni, in his time as a head coach, I mean, he's accomplished quite a bit. And I think recently as well. He's 41-19. It's the second highest active winning percentage among all active NFL head coaches. I think he actually has the ninth highest winning percentage of any NFL head coach ever with more than 50 games. So he wins quite a bit, but I will also take into account the assistants here. Obviously, Cliff Kingsbury is doing an awesome job there, but you look at the job that Vic Fangio has done. He has this defense playing at a really high level, and I really think that is the difference between these two teams tonight. I think both have really good offenses. I think the Eagles have a really good defense, and Washington, I don't think, has a good defense. So when you go to coaching, I do think Nick Sirianni is a better head coach than Dan Quinn. No shot at what he's doing. He's doing a fantastic job. But I just think Nick's a better head coach. But then when you go to the assistants, I think they have a pretty big advantage at defensive coordinator.
What's the latest on the health of Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith? We know that they've been nursing various injuries heading into this game.
Yeah, so they're going to be completely healthy tonight. All 22 starters are going to play in the game. Jordan Mailata, who you didn't mention there, but is worth bringing up, he's their starting left tackle. He's come off of IR just yesterday. He had a hamstring injury that sidelined him for 4 games. So that's something to keep an eye on. He is going to play, though. And then Devontae Smith, also dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to play. And then Goddard actually as well as a hamstring. So they got hamstring problems going on. But they're all going to play, but as I'm sure you guys know, when it comes to a muscle injury and a hamstring injury, you don't really know how that's going to go until you get out there and you're running around. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but they enter the game very, very healthy.
Do you think the Eagles defense and Fangio saw something in the game last week for the Commanders against the Steelers where they held Jaden to 3 carries for just 5 yards, where they kept him bottled up? Are they going to be able to have something close to that same success tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, with Jaden, just because he is a young quarterback, and look, I watched this with Jalen. I don't think it is a bad thing that at this point, if you keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket, like he just hasn't seen as much as other NFL quarterbacks have. So I think if you can keep him in the pocket, that is an effective strategy. I will say, though, Vic Fangio, he's been in the league for like 30 years. He kind of does what he does at this point. I think he believes in, having a sound defense where you're not trying to do too much, but everyone's very aware of what they're doing. And tackling will be key, especially when it comes to Jaden Daniels in that running game. So, I'm sure they'll try to keep him in the pocket, but I don't expect a ton of bells and whistles tonight from the scheme. I think that they're going to go out there, do what's worked for them, and, hopefully tackle well, which is a big key for them over the past 5 weeks.
What's been Philly's reaction to the former Commander wide receiver who you guys picked up in a trade, Jahan Dotson? Because here it's been kind of a goof, like our GM got over on yours.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think fans are really happy with the trade, obviously. Jahan Dotson, I will say in his defense, like he is probably the 5th option on offense because you have AJ, Devontae, Saquon, Dallas Goedert, and then Jalen runs it quite a bit. So he's not getting a ton of targets. I think the disappointment from fans was there was a 3-game stretch where AJ was out and then Devontae missed one of those games and Jahan didn't really do much during that stretch. So, I think no question, like to give up a 3rd-round pick for the production they've gotten is not a good return. But I think the flaw in the trade was the initial assessment that they would get enough of a production out of him in the role he's in to give up a 3rd-round pick. So they have him under contract next year. I think the hope is he'll continue to kind of develop and play better. But yeah, no question, a 3rd-round pick for him is not looking like a good move right now.
Eliot, what time does the tailgating start in the Link parking lots for an 8 o'clock-ish kick?
Oh, it already started. I'm sure there's been people out there since before the sun came up. We'll see how many of them make it to kickoff. But yeah, it's a long day here in Philadelphia. But it's going to be an awesome game. These two teams don't normally play meaningful games. It's been a long time. So it's going to be an awesome scene at the Link tonight.
Earlier we were talking about the matchup, Quinion Mitchell against Terry McLaurin. How do you see that going?
I mean, Terry McLaurin's one of the best receivers in the league. So it's hard, I think with just the way the game is structured right now, with the way offensive players have an advantage there, with the rule book, frankly, like I think that's a good matchup for Washington. Quinion is a rookie. He's played awesome so far this year. He's gone up against really good receivers and done a really good job. So it's not an anti-Quinion take. He's been really good. I just think Terry McLaurin is such a good player, and that it's a tough matchup. But I'm sure that they will bracket him. I'm sure they'll have a safety over on his side, because outside of Terry McLaurin, there's really not much on Washington's offense to be afraid of. So if they can take Terry out of it, yeah, that'd be big for them. And I think Quinion will do a decent job. But as you guys know, he's an awesome receiver, so I'm sure it's going to be a tough matchup.
Eliot, no, it's going to be a long day. We appreciate you taking some time out of it to spend with us, man. We'll talk to you again soon.